I'd like to welcome you to the Spring 2015 too loud? Okay, how's this? I'd like to welcome you to the Spring 2015 Convocation. As you know, it was scheduled for last week, and the weather doesn't always cooperate with us. But luckily, everything is okay today. The weather's beautiful outside, and hope you're enjoying the nice warm weather. So we have a very exciting program for you today. But first, I'd like to introduce to you the president of the college, Dr. Diane Call.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. And thank you for persevering through the weather and the launch of the semester, which really is, I think, going to be a fantastic one again. We have wonderful students, and we start the semester with some really wonderful positive things, including the bathrooms over in science opening yesterday, which is very nice. Soon we will get some of the other stuff done, so hopefully we'll have that first phase of the cafeteria project finished by this summer, heaven willing. But I kind of want to just recalibrate some of our conversations and focus on our key objectives, which is really to continue the work that all of you do to create this student-centered environment for learning. And I don't think anybody does it better than Queensborough. We also will continue to support a strong and engaged faculty. And to that end, this is one particular event, but there are many others to make that happen. And I think our third major objective is to continue our community partnerships. Those of you who have met our charming BTech students, the inaugural class, will know that our faculty is also helping to bring the next generation of Queensborough students together because they'll be coming to us to complete their degree programs. So, today's themes, there are two, and one is to really focus and highlight on just one way that faculty help our students, faculty and staff actually. And then the second part, which is really a very important part, and we all believe in it, what are the resources in place, what are the resources planned to really help our faculty advance in their professional development? Now, that is a very important aspect of what we do, but I think given the caliber of our faculty and the various things, we are not the same, but we are together in many things, and that certainly represents our values of teaching and helping one another as colleagues. So we begin this semester with 390 teaching faculty, and we have 46 CLTs, and we have 184 HEOs. It's a pretty large contingent of extraordinary folks, and we're very, very excited to welcome so many new faculty. I think we've hired 23 faculty this year, between the fall and the spring, and some of them may be here. So freshmen, they're also freshmen, welcome. I want to say a heartfelt thank to all the faculty, and especially the HEOs and the staff who got us through this registration period. We seem to be strong with registration, which is important. But I really do want to thank faculty for the work that they do in and outside of the classroom. It really is very heartfelt, my appreciation, and it's shared, I'm sure, by many, many people, and certainly by our students. So I certainly pledge, as someone who has the privilege of being a faculty member here, to really ensure that all the faculty have resources that they need to get where they want to go in life. So. I do want to mention one thing because it's kind of one of the two elephants in the room, and that is the distress over the delay in securing a contract. And 3 years ago, someone from the university, a very high-ranking official, said, "What do you think we should do next?" And I said, "Would you please settle the contract?" That was 3 years ago, and we continue to try to do that. We can't do it alone, and I think that's probably everyone's great frustration, yours and ours as well. The contract, as you know, they're all negotiated through a process that includes the city and the state, in this case, New York State, meaning the governor, frankly, because apparently there's not much of a legislative leadership at the moment, but they are, in fact, there, and we are going to work. It is a a complicated process because of finances and philosophy and just in general the bureaucratic things that one goes through. But it is, and I've been here a long time in the university. I have never seen what I've seen now, so I take it to heart, and I hope you will too. There is, for the first time, the university has really made very publicly collective bargaining and adjustments, obviously on behalf of our faculty and staff, a main priority. In fact, the main priority. Every year, CUNY puts out what's called a goal sheet. Looks like this. Literally, it's not gold, but it's goldenrod. And all of us go, presidents, faculty, students, through various mechanisms we go when we try to encourage our legislators and our governor and our mayor and all the officials to think about us as an investment in the future of New York City and New York State. So this year, and I must say it's extraordinary, this is this year's version, and I actually asked the university if I could distribute it to all of you, so you'll be getting it in the next couple of days in your mailboxes. What it shows are, of course, the CUNY requests and the CUNY, why it's a good investment. I don't have to tell you that. And a series of requests for budget support in the operating budget of New York State in particular. And the first thing listed is, in fact, the support of faculty and staff through collective bargaining. So I hope you'll join me in any way possible as members of our faculty, as community members, as students, as alums. I hope that we can all have the same message, which is to please, please help us get a contract and get it soon. I think it's very important. So we can't do much, us in this room, about a contract, but I think we can support faculty to advance their academic careers. And we've hired many new colleagues, so I hope that this particular event today will give some information that is out there in pieces. I think we can do a better job as a college to articulate, work with our faculty. There are members of your departments who are very helpful as your colleagues, mentors, your department PMBs, members of the college PMB, members of the administration. We are blessed to have Paul Marchese, who has come through the ranks, 14 years at Queensborough, through the ranks, and has served in various positions, including, of course, department chair and now in academic affairs. I think our pledge to you is that we will do everything we can to ensure that you have the tools and you have the information necessary to be successful. Now, people have said, question, they want specifics. It's really, really very hard to measure everything. I will tell you what I mentioned to someone earlier this week, which is the context of, in the fall, this past fall, we had 150 faculty who were considered for reappointment. 150. Remember, for many years, we did not hire faculty. CUNY didn't, we didn't. We have recently, obviously. Of the 150, there were 10 folks who were not successful in being recommended for reappointment. Some of those have been settled. 4 or 5 of them are still in process. So I put that into context because we all want everybody to succeed, and we don't want even 4 or 5 or 2 or 3 people not to be successful. But it is a context, and for the purposes of your careers, I hope these panel discussions today will be of some help. We stand ready to help. You know that you can reach out to any one of us for information or to talk with. It is a pretty impressive community, this community, very generous community. And I thank you for being part of it, because I know you had choices. I've had the privilege of interviewing a number of faculty this week, stunning candidates from various departments coming in. And I think we are a very strong and capable group. So we do it together, and we're going to do this together to make sure that all of you have a great experience here, as you are doing for our students. So I thank you, and I hope you have a great morning. And I'll be staying through this, so I'll try to go back and forth. And thank you all for being here.
Okay, next we have a presentation on the Starfish early alert system. As you know, Come on. As you know, we...
Can you please use the mic for the recording?
Okay, as you know, we've been, one of the, we really have been trying to help our students succeed, and the Starfish Early Alert System was something that we implemented almost 3 years ago under another system. But the idea is to help faculty better reach out to the student. Okay, anytime you have a student that's in academic need, has academic problems, you could use Starfish, press a button, and this whole process goes into effect in the background. And what they do is just basically to help the students. The idea is to, if a student has trouble, we get the help that they need, and at the same time help you help the student. Andrea, would you like to?
Yes. Thank you, Vice President Marchese, and Diane Call. Thank you, President Call, for your opening remarks this morning. It's wonderful to see everyone here at the convocation of the college. My name is Dr. Andrea Salis. I'm a faculty fellow in the Office of Academic Affairs, and I'm also an assistant professor in the Health, Physical Education, and Dance Department. And we're here. This part of the convocation will present on the Starfish Early Alert System, and we have a video that we will be showing to you. This video was created by Alexander Martinez, the CLT in the Mathematics and Science Department, and Ed Molina, who is the technical lead for Starfish. So we will show you this. It's about 2 minutes.
At Queensborough, many students are eager to learn, but some need more help and encouragement than others. That's why I support Starfish at Queensborough. The Starfish Early Alert Survey is a tracking system that allows me to flag students who are having difficulties and refer them to an advisor or learning center for additional help with their coursework. I can refer a student to tutoring, raise a flag when assignments are not turned in, and receive notification when the referral or flag is marked complete.
The survey is very easy to fill out. It takes me less than 5 minutes to complete one for my class. In the survey, I can create a referral or raise a flag and include a recommended action in the comments area. But what I like most about the surveys is that they're not just about pointing out what our students need to fix. It's about guiding them to the resources that Queensborough has available on campus to help and empower them to succeed. The Kudo feature, for example, allows me to tell the student that I can see measurable improvement and that I recognize their efforts.
Math has never been my subject, and it's been hard admitting that I could use some help in this area. The emails from my professor pointed me in the right direction to get the help I needed.
Starfish Early Alert supports our students so that Queensborough can help them succeed.
There are plenty of resources available online. Visit us at Queensborough's Starfish website at www.qcc.cuny.edu/starfish. Get started today.
Thank you for that video presentation. And so now we're just going to go on to brief introduction of or overview of Starfish that you've already have seen today. Okay, so what we're going to do is actually just very briefly, as Dr. Marchese, Vice President Marchese has already described to you, and as have you seen in the video, this is also a diagram of what happens when a faculty member reaches out through Starfish to alert students of their progress in a course, how the student is informed as well as their advisors. And if the faculty member refers a student to one of our support centers, then the support centers or tutoring centers receive the referral as well as the student, and they then work to help the students and then close that referral and close as we work towards closing the loop. And also that feedback comes back to faculty. So what we want to do today is actually have a few speakers on Starfish Early Alert. One is our esteemed colleague, Dr. Paris Svoronos, professor of the chemistry department and director of the QCC honors program, who will speak about his experience with Starfish. So I would like to call upon Dr. Svoronos. Microphone, you're going to go there. Okay.
So I always believe that our students are as capable as anybody. What they need is the individualized attention that we, as faculty, can provide them. Not only in the classroom, but also beyond that. We are lucky that our classes are very small. All of us know how it is at Stony Brook and City College, especially in the first and second year courses. So, so we need to keep them, make sure that they are on their toes at all times. And I always believe that the success of our students actually depends on the frequent testing. We are very, 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 very fortunate that we have this system of Starfish. It has worked tremendously with me. I, of course, have spent a tremendous amount of time going and hunting those students. But we also have a very, very, very good team, an excellent, actually, team. We have Alex and Ed, who are training us how to handle Starfish. And of course, we have Bonnie Cook, and her team of Linette and Karen, that have done a superlative job in terms of closing the loop and keeping in touch with us so we can make sure that the Starfish program actually is working at its best. So our students are instructed through Starfish to either go to tutoring or warned of various issues that may endanger the grade. Those include lateness, those include being absent, being prepared, and of course the exam grade status. We do not get, all of us know, we do not get as the so-called professional students like the big esteemed four-year colleges. However, as I always tell my students, they have two eyes like the Harvard people. They're not different than them. But through Starfish, we can salvage those borderline students because we're going to go after them and we can monitor their progress, sit down with them, guide them, and lead them to unprecedented success. Some of our students have had upon transfer to competitive programs. So I believe that Starfish is the guideline that will allow the students to reach their academic potential and make them the best ambassadors of our college. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Svoronos. So now we've heard about the faculty experience using Starfish Early Alert. And once a faculty member sends a referral to a learning center, we will now hear what happens when a referral is received by one of our learning centers, which is the Student Learning Center. And I would like to call up our STEM advisors, Linette, Nitschke, and Karen Salvador, who will speak to you about how they handle referrals and work towards closing the loop.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Karen and I are from the Student Learning Center, and when we check referrals, what we're concerned with are two groups of students. We're interested in the students that have been referred and have already come in for tutoring, and we're also interested in the students that have been referred and have not yet come in for tutoring. And so I want to tell you a little bit about what we do in each of those situations. So for students who have been referred and have come in, this is great. We're excited. This is our success story. And what we want to do now is find out what happened in that session so we can respond to the professor and let them know the student has come in, let them know the steps the student has taken. Each learning center documents what happens in a tutoring session through Starfish. We're able to look at the reports of that session. We're able to confirm that it is indeed for the correct class, and then we're able to respond to the professor, writing up a brief summary of what happened in that session. So if you hear the terminology closing the loop, that's what we're doing at this point. We're closing the referral, we're sending a message to the professor telling him or her what happened in the session. So that's the first situation. That's when a student has already come in. That's great. For the other students, those that have not yet responded to their professor's referral, we're now interested in reaching out to those students, making contact with them, and encouraging them yet again to come into the learning centers for tutoring. So we've developed a 5-5-5 approach of intentional outreach to the students, and those numbers simply refer to the amount of time between each attempt to reach out and contact the student. So our first 5 is 5 business days after the referral is sent out. We're going to use Starfish at this point to send a personalized message to the student, letting them know, we noticed you have a referral. We'd like to encourage you to come in. Here's some information about our center. But what's important about that is we're also sending that message to the professor. So they are aware that the student hasn't come in yet. They're aware of the student's progress so far. We continue 5 days after that. That's our second 5. We're going to repeat that message in Starfish, going to send that again to the student as a reminder, and we're going to keep the professor updated by sending him or her a copy of that message as well. Okay, that's our second 5. Our third 5, our last attempt to reach out to the student, is actually a phone call that Karen or I will make to the student. We found that phone calls are a great way to not keep in contact, but speak with the student one-on-one. In some cases, it's a chance for us to make appointments for future tutoring sessions because the student is interested, in fact.
And another reason why the phone calls are good is because some of the students are not aware of the centers. So this is an opportunity for us to talk about the center and also to tell students that it's a free resource that they have. Students sometimes don't know that it's free too. So that's something.
Yes, so whatever the reason is, we've noticed that the phone calls are effective, and they're one of the things that truly pushes the student not just to come in for that one course that they've been referred for, but to continue to use the different learning centers and the different resources that Queensborough provides. So we're excited to be a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you. So next we have, I would like to call upon our Director of Institutional Research and Assessment, Elisabeth Lackner, who will speak with you about the other functions of Starfish. And so what we've seen here is the Starfish allows us to communicate with our students and communicate with learning centers, support services. And also, Starfish allows us to acquire data to track the progress of, or track the use of Starfish at our college. And Elisabeth Lackner will speak to the findings of the Starfish on our campus.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you're all fully psyched about Starfish now. I'm just here to share a few insights of what the data tells us so far. I want to talk about the sheer volume of participation, what the numbers tell us there, and also does it make a difference to the students' progress to course outcomes. Okay. So this is just to give you an idea. This is just fall 14 percentages of how many students are actually reached. It's almost half of all the students on campus are reached through this intervention. So it's not just happening in one corner on the campus for a specific group of students, but it's really campus-wide. It's a huge intervention. We have half of the faculty also participating about. We would like to increase that even more, so keep up the good work. And so this next visual just gives you an idea of in what courses Starfish is utilized most. And that tells you the percentage of flags raised per semester by course subject, not necessarily by department. And as you can see, the math department is math courses are number 1 throughout these 3 terms that we have Starfish now, followed by English courses. And to some extent, that's just a reflection of the number of enrollment we have on campus. A lot of our students take math and English, obviously. And that's followed by STEM courses, your biology, chemistry, physics, and so on. Then social science courses, but also foreign language courses, business courses, and academic literacy courses are heavy users of Starfish. Let's just give you an idea how it happened. It happens across the board. It's campus-wide, reaching our students. Now, this gives you an idea the type of alerts. What's the ratio? Obviously, the most often raised items are flags, followed by kudos and referrals. Now, as it was just demonstrated, we feel that referrals are really important because it gets students to take action, to actually receive help. And so we encourage faculty to use referrals whenever appropriate, and also showing improvement kudos has shown to motivate students. Basically, the intervention is best if there's not just a calling out on students, yes, you're doing poorly, but it's, yes, you're struggling, however, there's resources for you. There's something you can do about. If students feel motivated, if it's a positive message together with an alert, that's when the intervention is most effective. And so we found that if students were actually receiving referrals, they were much more likely to go for tutoring, which kind of makes sense. This is fall 14 percentages of students who went for tutoring by the types of alerts they received. And as you can see, if they only receive a flag, even a poor performance flag, they're not as likely to receive tutoring as if they had a referral. So we encourage faculty to refer whenever you feel appropriate. You don't have to wait for a bad midterm grade. If you know from the beginning you're very experienced teaching a subject and you can feel that the student could benefit from additional help, you don't have to wait for a bad grade to justify it. You can go in, you don't have to wait for an email from Starfish. You can log in at any time and send a referral. Now, as a result, obviously, our tutoring centers are very busy. That's just the sheer volume of appointments that they managed in fall 14. Okay, so the dark blue numbers are the individual appointments, either individual tutoring or group tutoring. Those are what we call the intervention, versus the other ones are other appointments that are part of a course requirement that are also managed through Starfish, but that's like a student have to go. For example, in the Math Learning Center, if a student is in Remedial Math 10 and they have to take the workshop, that's managed through the Math Learning Center as well and recorded in Starfish. Okay. Now, we have also asked students how they feel about it. We have done 3 surveys. As Dr. Marchese said, before we had Starfish, we had our own in-house early alert. So we surveyed them before Starfish and then with Starfish for 3 terms. By and large, students are either happy, they feel it's benefiting them, or they feel neutral about it. It's only 8 to 10% of students who don't like some of the features. But what's really, really interesting here is all the students that we surveyed were actually flagged, but only 46% said, yes, I was contacted when we had our in-house system. Now with the technology of Starfish, that went up to 77%, and I bet for fall 14 it's even higher, although we haven't had a survey this fall term because of the additional outreach we just heard from the advisors. So that's just a nice feedback from students that we feel the loop is being closed. They do get the message. Okay, so that's on just the volume, on the participation in this intervention. Now I want to talk a little bit about how we try to measure whether or not it makes a difference. So we're looking at assessing course outcome as well as outcomes for students. So we're looking at course pass rates and completion rates. Do we see lower unofficial withdrawal rates? And then also for the students, for the semester GPA and some other measures, does it make a difference? Okay, here's an example of a course outcome analysis. Again, this is fall 14 data. These are all the remedial reading, writing, and math courses combined. And we split them between sections that use Starfish and sections that didn't use Starfish. And here to the left, you have the outcome measures, percentage of P of everybody enrolled, percentage of P of everybody who actually completed the course, and then completion rates. And what we've seen, and this is not only in fall 14, we have seen that in prior terms as well, is that section that utilized Starfish had higher pass rates than sections who didn't utilize Starfish. It's a difference of 7 to almost 9% here, and that's really encouraging. And it's also great because within remedial courses, within the course itself, students are very similar. They have similar needs. So you can really feel confident that the difference is through the intervention. Whereas in regular courses, you might have high achievers and low achievers in the same course, but in remedial course section, they're very similar. And so we feel very confident that it is working for remedial students. Now, in terms of completion rate, it's pretty flat. There wasn't really much of an improvement, but that's the nature of the beast. A lot of students in remedial courses withdraw, and so that's what we see here. But it fluctuated. In some terms, it actually did make a difference in terms of completion also, but it's not as consistent. All right, so then we also tried to look at it from the student's perspective, and we grouped students into 4 categories. So here is the student who wasn't flagged, but went for tutoring anyway, the very proactive student. Then here are students who weren't flagged and also didn't go for tutoring. Here are students who were flagged and received tutoring, and then here are the students who were flagged but did nothing, they didn't go for tutoring. So those are not very motivated students. And so then we define this difference of tutoring, we call it the tutoring effect. So it's the percentage point difference between students who received tutoring and students who didn't. What does this tutoring effect tell us for outcomes? And we found that the difference that tutoring made for course pass and completion rates was stronger for the flagged population. In other words, flagged students are weaker students, but the difference that tutoring makes for them is stronger. So they have more grounds to cover, and so their gain is stronger through tutoring. And any gain we can have on this weaker population is a positive. So to demonstrate what I'm talking about here, here's a bar chart that tells you essentially that students who received tutoring earned a C or better in credit-bearing courses at 3 to 5% rate higher than those who didn't, but at 4 to 11% higher if they were also flagged. So the dark blue bar represents flagged students, and as you can see, the tutoring effect is slightly higher for them than those who weren't flagged. All right, so now that was still on the course outcome, C or better for the course. Now we're trying to look at does it make a difference for the student for the whole semester in general, whether you received 1 flag in math or 5 flags in math, English, and history. Does the intervention make a difference to the student progress overall? And so we started to look at that by defining at-risk students. Freshmen, if they needed remediation in all 3 areas, reading, writing, math. And for continuing students, essentially if they were on probation, if they had a GPA below a 2.0, GPA below 2.0. And so these are my last 2 slides on data, I promise. And I'm sorry there's not time for Q&A, but if you are interested in this data, you want to know more, you have questions, you want to collaborate on working with it, I'm very open to it. Please contact me. So what we found is that almost everybody who is a triple remedial freshman had been flagged one way or the other, so that's pretty much a given. But at-risk freshmen who were also receiving tutoring had a 25% higher pass rate for the semester. They passed more of their remedial credits, they had fewer withdrawals, and they passed more of of almost all of their courses they completed. And for at-risk continuing students, those who received tutoring almost doubled their chance of getting out of probation, reaching a cumulative GPA of 2.0. They also had a 10% higher pass rate for the semester. So 23% of them basically reached that 2.0 cumulative, versus 12.5 if they hadn't received tutoring. Semester GPA is kind of linked to that, also fewer withdrawals, and again, a higher percentage of students who passed 75 or all of their completed courses. Okay, so that's on the data, what we see so far. We also try to now look at, because the way this intervention works is it's targeting at weaker students, so we cannot just take them and compare them to our average students. So we're trying to compare apple to apple. So what we're doing now is we're looking at other effects that students might see between flagged and non-flagged if they're similar in all other aspects, for example, remedial needs and other aspects. All right, so for people who haven't been convinced yet or are new on campus, I just want to go over 3 slides really quick. This is what you would see starting Sunday. This is our first progress survey coming out. That's an email that you would receive. And basically, it just lists all the courses you're teaching currently and a link to Starfish. All you have to do is click on it, log in, and then you see a roster where you can just issue alerts as appropriate. It's very simple, very intuitive. Here are our alert dates, early alert survey dates for the spring 15. As I said, Sunday is the first period beginning. They are open for a week. You might get a reminder email if you have not acted upon it. And it's usually open from Sunday to Saturday. So we have 2 in February and then 1 in March and 1 in April. However, I want to stress this. You don't have to wait for the email. If you spoke to a student today and you feel they're struggling, however, they're making some improvement and you're proud of them, you don't have to wait for the email to come to send them a kudo. You can go in at midnight on your home computer and do it at any time. Same if you feel they need additional help. You don't have to wait for the progress survey. You don't have to wait for that to report on any kind of test you had in your class and you want to send messages out to students. You can do it at any time. If you're new to this, there is also training for faculty, and here are some of the training dates. In February, they're relatively short. From faculty feedback, we had also interviewed faculty. It's pretty intuitive to use, and they're all in the same room in the science building. You're welcome to join and attend those and utilize it. So to sum it up, it's a great intervention when students feel there are some resources they can turn to. It does make a difference. So please try to utilize it as appropriate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Elisabeth. I just want to invite Dr. Svoronos up to the front for just one more moment to speak with you briefly about our honors program.
So as I stated before, our students need the individualized attention. Most of them, when they come to us, they have post-Queensborough college aspirations and careers, of course. And so they naturally need a beefed up resume. Now, these days, a 4.0 GPA doesn't take you too far. And the reason for that is, of course, we have the ratemyprofessors.com. So they find out who is a so-called easy teach. And so therefore, the students can always work around this. So at Queensborough, through the diligent effort of many, many of you, we have created a first-class honors program, which is unprecedented in community college levels. This year we will celebrate the 11th annual anniversary, which is going to be of the Honors Conference, which will be held on May 1. And we have achieved to having approximately 250 plus students present. It is a great opportunity for our kids to present, because we have had four-year colleges who have been willing to come and partially subsidize the lunch with the intent to recruit our kids. We have also had parents invited, and we want them to come and witness what the transformation of their children is by you, the faculty. We have sections labeled as honors, and we have honors contracts that are in an agreement between a faculty member and the student, and of course, this has to be signed by the chair. We encourage all of these kids to present, but again, the kids may opt out, and the faculty member is never obliged to take an honors contract. So a minimum of 12.0 credits and a GPA of at least 3.40 upon graduation and only upon graduation will secure an honors certificate. And we are grateful to President Cole, because she has made it a highlight of our graduation ceremony and the program. The deadline for the honors contracts this year is on Friday, February 27, after which the honors committee will evaluate all the submissions. We are here to enlarge the honors program. We are here to help faculty groom our kids to successful post-undergraduates, and of course to promote the image of our college and get the feeling that we have changed lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Okay, so let's see. Escape. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the tenure and promotion process, which is the focus of the convocation. Before that, I want to talk about my office, our office, the Office of Academic Affairs, which is primarily responsible for supporting the faculty. We support the faculty with their teaching and with their scholarship. In the Office of Academic Affairs, we have several people working with us. First of all, we have Dean Glenn Birdie, who's Dean for Academic Operations. Dean, Glenn, would you, that's Glenn. Glenn is responsible for the budget, but specifically for the faculty, he handles the faculty travel grants. As you may know, the Office of Academic Affairs supports presentations at conferences, at national conferences. So anytime you get accepted to present at a conference, we will provide up to $1,000 for you to attend. And I'd like to say that up until today, this very day, everybody who's come to us asking for support, we've been able to provide a grant. Also, we have Margot Edlin, who's the Interim Assistant Dean for Academic Operations. Margot is responsible for coordinating remediation, Q, USIP, and now Perkins. You met Andrea Salis. I'm sorry, Margot, would you stand up? Yes. Okay. Andrea, please stand up. And as Andrea said, she's an assistant professor in the Department of Health, Physical Education, and Dance. And Andrea is responsible for the academies, which you know a little bit about. We haven't spoken about it. And as you heard, the early alert, the Starfish system. And this semester with us, we're lucky to have Linda Reisman. Linda, please. And Linda is a professor in the English department. She will be working with the faculty and the departments on articulation and transfers, and also research compliance. So anybody who wants to do research involving human subjects will now have to go, should go to Linda with any questions about the IRB. Okay. For the past 10 years, most of what's been driving a lot of the changes at the college has been the enrollment. Since 2000, when I first got here, when the enrollment was approximately 11,000 students, the number of students attending Queensborough Community College has increased by about 50%. Right now we're approximately 16,000 students. Why the increase? Well, two reasons. One of them is that the demographics of New York City was such that there were a lot of high school students at the time, and they were graduating. But also around this time, that's when the economy took a hit. So a lot of people also came to college, to Queensborough Community College specifically, to kind of work on their credentials. So we have seen a huge increase, and the biggest enrollment occurred around 2011, 2012, when we hit almost 16,800 thereabouts. We do have two dips, and one of those dips does coincide when we first introduced CUNY First. What's going to happen in the future? Well, the economy's getting better. The demographics are changing again, so now there's less students going into high school. So theoretically, we might expect the numbers to go down. Although what we've seen the numbers kind of level off, only because even though the numbers of students going into high school is less, the graduation rates are going up. So we've been getting approximately the same amount of students, but we've also seen that they're not as prepared as they were before. And this has affected certain departments. Dr. Cole has actually been very generous in supporting the faculty, and the number of faculty working at the college has increased to match the enrollment. For the longest time, before I got here, the number of faculty pretty much stayed level. Let's see, can we see it here? My pointer is red, Dark Jedi. Okay, and it's been going up, and like Dr. Cole said, we're now at 390 full-time faculty. And the faculty to student ratio has, as a result, has remained more or less the same for the last 15 years. Okay. This is a graph of the faculty, the breakdown of the faculty by rank. The blue line represents the full professors, the green line, the assistant professors, red is the associate, and the purple is the lecturers. Again, way back when we first started, before the increase, the majority of the faculty were full professors. Since then, the number has been decreasing. I mean, you can see the ratio of full professors the number has been going down. The reason for this, again, I've been looking at the numbers, I'm a numbers person, is these people have been retiring. We're still producing full professors, and actually we're producing full professors at a much higher rate than we were at the way back then, but we're just not keeping up with the retirement rate. And every once in a while, CUNY puts in the incentive package for faculty to retire. There was one here where we lost about 10 full professors. So that's been affecting us. But we've been getting a whole bunch of new assistant professors, untenured, but they've been, have excellent credentials. These faculty, started around the year 2000, will be going up for full professor in the near future. Okay, and this is one of the things we're talking about right now. The associate professor line almost mirrors the assistant professor line, except that there's a lag of about 5 to 7 years, which represents the tenure clock. 97% of faculty who come in as an assistant professor do get tenure, which is a very good number. Turns out it's actually way above average for the other CUNY colleges. So overall, we're doing a better job. More of our faculty are getting tenure. And this is not because we have lower standards. In fact, the evidence indicates we have higher standards than some of the other CUNY colleges, including 4 years. Our faculty have higher publication numbers, and we have more faculty grants than some of the 4-year colleges. Okay. So I think a lot of the high tenure rate is attributed to the quality of the faculty and the administration that supports you. Here's the same graph, same numbers, but here I just put them in percentage rates. I took out the lecturers, if that helps some people. Okay. I'd like to talk a little bit about what goes into the tenure and promotion process, and I hope everybody knows by now what we're looking for tenure. Okay, these are from the CUNY Bylaws, and as you know, the first thing we look for is teaching effectiveness. How do you know that you're an effective teacher? How do we know that when a person's coming up in front of the PMB, they're an effective teacher? Well, all the stuff that I hope you're familiar with. We have the student evaluations, we have the peer observations. Has the person developed any new curriculum? Has the person developed educational materials like a lab manual or written a textbook? All that goes into being an effective teacher. Then there's scholarship and professional growth. Again, I think our faculty are excellent in this field because they have, again, top-notch publications, presentations, participation in conferences, in grant evaluations, journal reviewers, thank you. Okay, then we have service to the institution, committees, search committees, helping with the faculty senate, and also in the bylaws is something about service to the public. Okay. Also from the bylaws, what makes an assistant professor? Let's go back. Basically, in order to get hired an assistant professor, you need a track record in scholarly activities, teaching, and service to the college and community. But for the associate professor, basically is continued effectiveness in teaching and scholarship. So when you get hired as an assistant professor, that's good. You know, you're doing all your activities, you get tenure, and what do you need to get associate professor? Just to have a track record, continuous record of having been an effective teacher and having been an effective scholar, or an excellent scholar, well, effective scholar. For a professor, it's a little bit different. Okay. Turns out for a professor, you can't continue on the same track. You can't continue doing the same things you were doing when you were for associate. For full professor, the requirements are excellence in teaching and scholarship in his or her discipline. How do you show that you're an excellent scholar? Is it you've been doing the same thing everybody else is doing? 97% of the people got tenure. So you're just with them, and now you've just been doing the same thing. Does that make you an excellent scholar? No. Okay. Not everybody who gets tenure will get full professor. But again, for the last 10 years, we hired approximately 100 new faculty. Since then, we've produced 30 full professors, okay, which is 30, you could say something like 30 out of 100, which is not really right because well, it's not accurate. But we do have a very high full professor promotion rate. And again, it's higher than the average for CUNY. And again, it's not because we have lower standards than the rest of CUNY. It's just that I like to think we provide more support for our faculty, and we really have top-notch faculty. We do provide resources for faculty to get tenure and promotion. First, I'll talk about the CUNY, what CUNY provides. Of course, when you get hired, I met a few of the people who have just started at Queensboro. You do get 24 hours release time, which is almost a full year to release from your teaching loads to carry out your scholarly activities. We have the Chancellor's Research Fellowship. I sent out an email last week about this program, but basically the CUNY will give you release time to carry out research. There's the Faculty Fellowship Publication Program, and this was something that I think this year, we have 3 faculty that were accepted to the Faculty Fellowship Public FFFP. Anthony Monahan, are you still here, Monahan? Yeah. And what they do is they actually mentor you. They give group activities to help you publish in a peer-reviewed article or publish your book. They have you meet with publishers, and they meet with editors. They provide all sorts of resources to get you to publish your works. It's a great program, and I think last year I wrote recommendations for 6 faculty members, and 3 of them got it. We have the PSC CUNY grants. I strongly encourage the new faculty to submit something this year, okay? We have the Collaborative Incentive Research Grants Program, or CIRG, but we also have a special program for community colleges, which is called the C3 IRGs. And again, Queensboro really has one of the largest numbers of C3 IRGs in all of CUNY. The Office of Academic Affairs provides resources. I mentioned the OAA travel grants. And again, we have not turned down anybody ever. Okay. The only requirement is that you have to have been accepted, and when you present at the conference, your primary affiliation has to be Queensboro Community College. Incidentally, this also counts for tenure. We can't give you tenure at Queensboro Community College if you list your affiliation as the Graduate Center. Queensboro is giving you the tenure, not the Graduate Center. Make sense? We have the CETL Pedagogical Research Grants, which will be coming out in March, I believe. The new Faculty Mentor Program, which Andrea Salis has been heading, but this year we're actually expanding the program. Up until now, it's been only the first year. Now we're expanding the program, that the mentor program, the mentor-mentee relationship will continue beyond the first year, hopefully up until tenure and beyond that. Okay. The departments get, last year we started incentivizing the summer and the winter enrollment, and basically the departments now get funds, in some cases very generous amounts of funds, to provide more resources, more money for faculty to present and be involved in their research activities. Another program that we're just instituting this year is the Teaching Fellowship Program. when people don't get tenure or when people don't get promoted, it's not so much because they're not good teachers. In fact, the faculty who are not good teachers are very rare, okay? But we'd like to provide something. In some cases, some faculty do need help with their teaching. So we're gonna have this new program to pair you up with an experienced teacher, not in your department, and this person will work with you to help you work on your presentation skills, on your teaching ability, and hopefully that won't be an issue going forward for tenure and promotion. And there's another program, the Tenured Faculty Research Fellowship and Mentorship Program. We need an acronym for that one. Again, we also recognize that some faculty have tenure, they've got an associate, and they just got stuck there, and they've fallen out of practice. They just, somehow they didn't keep up with the field, so now it's kind of hard to get started again. So in consultation with the PMB, we created this program, and the idea here is, for example, the Chancellor's Fellowship Program for research, they're looking for people with a track record on research, of doing research and publishing. Here, this is going to sound bad, we're looking for people that don't have a track record. We're looking for people who do need the leg up to get started on their research. So here, again, we'll pair you up, we'll give you some release time, we'll pair you up with an experienced researcher, with someone with experience publishing and presenting, and then together, as a team, you work together to get you back on track and hopefully to be full professor. So we provide a lot of resources to help you succeed. But in my opinion, okay, the most important resource for you to get tenure and promotion, your department chairs. Your chairs are absolutely, without a doubt, all of the chairs are committed to their faculty. Okay. At the PMB, they're your best advocate. They're the people who know what's going on. They see at the PMB what's happening and what needs to be done in order for you to succeed. So I would like you, if you're thinking about going for tenure, you have the annual evaluation once a year, but it's not a bad idea to every once in a while check with your chair and say, how am I doing? Okay. We just got the letter for full professor, for those of you that might be interested in going for full professor. And some people came to me asking, what do I think? And the first question I asked was, did you go see your chair? Okay. I mean, I will never say no to the faculty, to you guys, but the bottom line is that your chairs have the most direct relationship with you. So make use of your chairs. I just gave you guys a lot of work, sorry. But, okay. One more announcement. Again, the letters for full professors came out last week. And faculty, associate professors are supposed to decide whether they should be going up full professor or not. So we're going to be having again, some people have already come to me asking my opinion, but rather than, handling a few people at a time, we're going to have an information session in 2 weeks. And we're going to have faculty who got full professor last year. They will tell you about the process. They will tell you about what they did. They will show the packet they put together to present to the PMB, and they will tell you a little bit about the experiences that they had, and I'll be there as well, and I'll help you. And the idea here is to give you the information that you need, A, to decide whether you want to go for full professor or not, and B, if you do want to go for full professor, what are some of the steps you should be taking to present yourself to provide a very competitive package? Okay. I'll send an email out hopefully Monday. Okay. Questions? Wow, I was so clear. Thank you. Okay, so yes. Whatever you think.
Can you please add what the CUNY bylaws might say about going from instructor to lecturer with CCE? That's one question. The second question is the shared digital desk resource.
Correct.
And you've always had excellent evaluations. What roadblocks might you run into? Nothing negative in evaluation. What roadblocks might run in that the college B&B might not support your appointment, or the president later on might not support your appointment?
Right. Okay. So the first question is the requirements for instructor to lecturer is not guaranteed. Okay. In order to to continue as an instructor, you need your PhD, and that's the requirement.
Is that excuse me, interruption, but is that in the bylaws?
Yes. Okay. To become an instructor, to become the idea is to be an assistant professor from the instructor line. And the requirement for assistant professor is a PhD. So now, yes, I know. There's a possibility of an instructor being given a lecturer position. But that is not guaranteed. There's different ways, different things that people look at to decide if they're going to make an instructor into a lecturer. Right. So in the past, sometimes they did do that for some instructors who were maybe within a year or two of becoming a PhD, and we had that happen in some cases. Okay. In some cases, there was again, if there's no indication of an instructor being in a PhD program, then we just, they didn't get lecturer. Okay. And sorry, the second question, right?
If you're a chairperson, and in fact two chairpersons through the course of a career have given excellent end-of-year evaluations, student evaluations, peer teaching evaluations, presentations, etc. What could be possibly some of the roadblocks, in presenting to the college P&D, or also when it finally gets onto the president's desk for approval?
There, it really depends. Again, Again, instructor to lecturer is not guaranteed. You could have excellent credentials as an instructor. I mean, you were progressing, but again, there's no guarantee to go for lecturer.
But there isn't any guarantee in any of these. I mean, to be an assistant professor, to be an associate professor, so there isn't a guarantee that anyone's going to get promoted or appointed to the next level. So there's no guarantee in any of them. Is there? Is there a guarantee?
No, but there is a review process. Okay, there are multiple steps, including the PSC, the union. Okay, and again, overall, I think the numbers at the college are very high. We have a very high success rate. Would I want it to be 100%? Yes. As a teacher, do I want 100% of my students to get A's? Yes. Is that always going to happen? Let's see. No, it's not arbitrary. There is a review process. It just has to be followed. But again, just like when you give grades, not all your students get, pass. Sometimes they fail, and it's not always the instructor's fault. Okay? Asita, you had a question?
Yes, yeah. Good morning. So my question is basically about these new programs, which is called Tenure Faculty Research Fellowship and Mentorship Program. So you said that you're looking for people who are like, in the professional development activities and research and so on. So I just wonder, the answer could be helpful for everybody. I just wonder that if you have any example, I know that the program is new, but let's say if a person is lacking in any of these activities, besides giving the support to go to the conferences and talking with the people in the same area, what other, how could you help that person
How can we-
writing a research paper? Thank you.
Basically, how can we help someone who really hasn't had a lot of experience with publishing and doing research? So the way to do that, the way I'm envisioning right now, is basically we'll pair you up with a mentor or a group of people. We'll put you in a group. There's a couple of very successful research groups at the college, and we'll have you work with them and just kind of more like a mentor-mentee program where they will show you how to submit abstracts, how to write papers, and basically how to get started on your research. Okay? We have a lot of very successful faculty at the college doing research and being engaged in scholarship activity, and we really have to take advantage of that. Thanks. Okay. Anything else? Phil, please.
First, I want to thank the administration and president in particular for that long list of ways in which you support the faculty. Thank you very, very much. And for being sensitive to certain areas where we are concerned about the need for support. Several times you mentioned that you hope faculty were aware of what requirements there were. Well, what is it that holds us back from making what you hope they'll be aware of appear in a written form? Because there are lots of questions that people have that come to me. I look at all the documents that there are, and I don't find answers to them. So I agree with you, the role played by those folks who provide guidance to the faculty is very important. But wouldn't it be helpful for them, as well as the faculty, that these bits of information that they are to convey are located somewhere? And I have to say that the documents of the university are general enough to permit, I think, some incredible wiggle room for how they are interpreted and applied. But they do not answer a whole long list of questions, particularly given the new environment we are in and new programs that we have, as to how that is all handled in the review process. So my basic question is, to help out with what you hope is taking place, wouldn't it be good to have something in writing somewhere that the folks involved in helping faculty can make reference to?
Yes.
I'm not calling for numerical quotas or anything like that at all. Just the basic information that is your hope gets conveyed exists somewhere so people can convey it.
Yes.
And we work towards that.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, that's one of the things we like to do. I mean, we would like to make even more clear what exactly we're looking for tenure and promotion. The bylaws allow for a certain amount of flexibility. So, for example, if you're very strong in teaching or if you're very strong in scholarship, I hate to say this, it's okay if one of the other legs of the stool is a little weaker, okay? So there is some flexibility in the evaluation process. Again, I think overall our numbers are good. And again, they're above average for CUNY. I can't stress that enough. So I want to be, if any change that we want to implement, I'd like to be careful, okay? Because I know, I mean, if you want to, some people have suggested putting up a very, let's say, very rigid rubrics. You need 10 publications to get tenure, you need 5 presentations. Nobody wants that, I'm thinking, right? Okay, thanks. Okay. We need a certain amount of flexibility. You'd like to present in different journals. You don't want to be tied to, I can only publish in this journal. So yes, is the system working? I think yes. The numbers show that. Can it be improved? Maybe, Tony. But yeah, we will look into that. I promise. Okay? Peter.
I'd like to hear comment about Queensborough's high-impact practices. So my question is, how does faculty participation in high-impact practices count or factor into tenure and promotion?
Okay. Two ways. Okay, one way is it's in your teaching. When we look at the teaching, when we do the teaching component, okay, yes, this person has good student evaluations, this person's involved in service learning, so that's one of the things that we look for. The other thing I'm always encouraging faculty to do, look, you did this wonderful thing working with St. Thomas. Why don't you go, write about it, go present at the Q conference, which is coming up, by the way. So I encourage all the innovative things you do in the classroom, write about it, talk about, present it. So the high impacts can actually affect your tenure promotion process in two ways. Okay. Anything else? Okay. We're going to have 2 breakout sessions, and basically we're going to have 2 panels from the PMB members who are going to explain to you, kind of help you out with one of the things that we're looking for with tenure and promotion. The panel on tenure is going to be in here, and then the panel on promotion to associate and full professor is going to be in LB 14. There was a change in the program, by the way. Also, I recognize that some people might feel uncomfortable asking some of the harder questions, and we love to give our chairs hard questions. So we're going to have index cards that you could actually write questions, and we're going to have 2 tenured people ask the questions for you if for some reason you don't feel comfortable asking yourselves. Okay? So the cards are being given out right now. Does anybody have any questions or comments in the meantime? Okay. Okay. You're always welcome to come talk to me or ask me questions you may not feel comfortable asking in public. Otherwise, we'll convene here at 11:30 and see you soon. Or 11, sorry.